Namaste सभी को. So this is our 17th session of Manav Vyavhar Darshan English translation reading. So welcome to all. And so last session, Kuhu was unwell, so I was being a substitute. So today Kuhu is back, and so you can have the person who was intended to do this. So welcome back, Kuhu. And Kuhu will be completing her chapter number 4, and after that we will basically go with Spencer and Estelle, who will do the chapter number 5. Yeah. So welcome again, and Kuhu.
Yeah, thank you, Via. Thank you for taking over last time. And I'll continue from where you had left off. I
Okay.
think we were on page, at the end of page 88.
Okay, just 1 minute. Mm, I think need to share. Yeah, this is the screen I want to share. Is the picture is it correctly showing on the screen?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, so previously we were talking about Jivan, the sentient being, and how it needs to it is capable of gaining knowledge and understanding, which leads it to gain complete happiness. And one of the reasons or the cause for awakening for the sentient being, for the Jivan, is something called sanskar. So, what is sanskar, right? So, how do we define sanskar? So, sanskar refers to the acceptances towards completeness. These only get carried forward as fate in humans. Number two, sanskar refers to knowledge, wisdom, and science, which gets carried forward towards resolution for evidencing. Number three, sanskar refers to the understanding and tendencies of materializing ideas for completeness. Number four, sanskar refers to the physical, verbal, and mental actions towards completeness through doing, getting done, or consenting. So here Babaji has outlined four ways how we can see and understand sanskar. And sanskar basically are the deep uh, collection of impressions of habits, of knowledge, of actions that we have accumulated in our life so far. And it specifically uh, goes on to talk about these actions, these understandings that are in line with what's true, with the reality, towards going towards completeness. So what it means is that these not only shape our past and our present, but it also influences how our future will be, the values we hold, the wisdom we gain, and all the actions that we take towards completeness, towards fulfillment. And all of these together is what we find our what helps us find our way towards uh, awakening. So prarabdh he talks about is prarabdh is one cannot desire as much as one can know, cannot do as much as one can desire, and cannot enjoy or endure as much as one can do. What remains to be enjoyed or endured is carried forward as fate. So prarabdh is basically, if we talk about our life or the journey of our life, it is we have three important things that there are. One is what we know, other is what we want, and the third is what we actually do. So when he says you can't desire everything you know, it means that we might know a lot of things, a lot of facts, a lot of skills, a lot of information, but we can't desire all of it. There is just too much of everything for us to, sorry, we can't know all of what we desire. So there is just too much to desire. of everything that we know. It's like knowing that there are uh, like 100 different flavors of ice cream, but you only desire a few of them. You don't desire all 100 of them, for example. So this is what he means by that. Then he goes on to saying that you can't do everything that you desire. So even if you do have a lot of desires, you can't act on all of them. There are limits to what you can do. It can be because of time, because of the resources, or different other constraints, but you can't do everything that you desire. There's a lot more that you desire than what you can actually do because of various factors. And then he says that you can't experience everything you do. So even the things that you do or you do manage to achieve, um, whether they bring you joy or whether they challenge you, they can't be fully experienced or fully enjoyed at once, because there are so many things that we do that you can't fully experience everything at once. You can't fully endure everything to the fullest, because there is always something that is happening. So now what happens to the parts that are left, right? So what happens to the rest? So the parts that you don't fully desire or that you can't fully experience, they don't just disappear. So they are carried forward as your fate or as prarabdha, as he says. So this means that the unfinished business or the unfulfilled desires that you have, um, or the consequences even from the actions from your past, they become a part of your life's ongoing journey. It's like it's carried forward. So it's basically what is left over from your past, which you didn't fully fulfill, or which you didn't fully experience. It is what is carried forward in your life, and that is also what you might encounter next in your life. So I tried to explain it as much as I could. I think Bhaiya would probably be able to expand on this better, but I guess for now I'll just move on. So
Yeah, sure.
an evolving constitution atom is held together by molecular and gravitational forces. However, when the contradiction and expansion activity increases in this atom, it instantly breaks free from its group and attains constitutional completeness, becoming a Jivan atom. The evidence of constitutional completeness is the Jivan atom's liberation from molecular and gravitational bondage, and it's having the bondage of hope. Constitutional completeness becomes evident in the form of its assertion of innateness, independence, and authority. The physical, chemical, and Jivan activities are forever present in existence. In the course of understanding the interrelationships among these activities, the sentient unit, transcended from physical and chemical activities, recognizes itself as Jivan. Humans are the only entities that recognize and evidence this. The separation from the group of insentient atoms results in Jivan atom's ability to function in an expanse larger than its height, width, and length. Every Jivan is effortful to accomplish according to its hope through the body, and for this purpose, only, it is separate from molecular groups. So basically, this Anubhuti, this passage describes how an atom, through intense internal activity that it goes through, can break free from the physical forces, which are the molecular and gravitational forces, and which then helps it evolve into a Jivan atom, which is a unit of life. So the Jivan atom, then it's characterized by its independence and by its drive, which in this case is hope. So it is seen that it is the Jivan atom that has hope and independence, because it has broken free uh, uh, from its uh, from its physical bond. So humans, because we're sentient human beings, we are aware of this process, and we can understand our own existence as Jivan. We are the only beings who can understand that, because we're sentient sentient beings. And basically, then we see that the ultimate goal, the goal of the Jivan, is to accomplish its hopes and its purpose using the body, which is the medium, which is the physical form that it uses um, uh, to, uh, to to basically gain fulfillment. So the union of sentient and insentient arises from the sentient state arises from frustration in the insentient activities, because frustration of effort is the cause of development in nature. And this itself manifests as the thirst for restfulness in Jivan. Further on this, the insentient atom in development progression itself attains sentience upon transcendence. So what it means, the idea here is that the challenges and frustrations that are there in the non-living world, in the insentient world, it eventually leads to the development of life, to the development of consciousness. That is where the progression is going. So once this life arises, it has a deep desire or a thirst, as he says, for restfulness, for peace, and that is what drives it forward. It is this union of the sentient and the insentient, which is again a natural progression from which life emerges, and this life then goes forward towards seeking restfulness and peace. And this is how he has described the union of sentient and insentient. So whatever impressions of adhyas are there in the sentient or the jivan, they are incomplete. The sentient unit wants further development. The developed units utilize undeveloped units for the purpose of awakening by way of complementariness. For awakening, inward deployment of energy is necessary in every human being. Since the decline is apparent, if a unit's powers flow outward, and development is apparent if a unit's powers are turned inward. Inward deployment means deriving the conclusions through reflection, inspection, examination in self, and evidencing them. Adhyas is the process that occurs by bodily activity with mental acceptance, along with sensory conduciveness, are referred to as adhyas. So adhyas is basically the journey. So here he's basically talking about the journey of personal growth and moving towards awakening. And it says that if you're a sentient being, there will always be incomplete impressions and incomplete understanding within you. So if you want to grow fully, if you want to awaken fully, you need to focus inward. So it is when you're reflecting deeply on your thoughts and experiences that you're turning your energy inward and understanding yourself better, which is how you can develop in a more meaningful way. So the inward journey is what is the key to achieving awakening, to achieving completeness, and true understanding. So adhyas here is described as our physical actions, our mental involvement, and our sensory experiences that happen in our daily lives. The combination of all three, the interrelation of all three, is what uh, contributes to our experience of living. Again, this concept can maybe probably be explained better explained by Bhaiya, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
move
I
forward.
can actually add to
Sure,
this.
sure.
See, what we can basically see is um, we see insects, for example. So the insects do not have uh, G1, right? It is, but they have a brain formation. So the insects actually perform all the activities that such as mating, and they also do some defending also. So all the four instincts that we have talked about, ahar, nidra, bhaya, maithun, food, uh, uh, etc., eating, mating, etc., they perform those activities, and through brain. There is no Jivan over there, right? So that is basically the first beginning of Adhyas. Is it's part of the, it's there. The imprint is there in the biological cells. Then comes the animals which have Jivan, right? So where the brain would do the function of uh, the four instincts will be through the brain only, and Jivan will be consenting to everything that the impulses decisions which are different from the bodily impulses. So that is how it basically happens in the animal order, right? But there can be one stage in the domestic animals like dogs and cats and things where these, in some cases, they might actually be seen to be performing some actions which are different from bodily instincts. Like we train the dogs not to pee or defecate in the room, but go outside, right? So we train the dogs. So that means that they are actually performing certain tasks which are different from their bodily impulses, right? So which, but what essentially it is happening is that it is actually taking the signals of a human being and performing those activities. In humans, actually, adhyas actually becomes a important concept. Like even there, the body is getting, all the bodily functions are happening through brain only, and a number of things, all the four instincts are happening through brain. But there is a consciousness faculty is actually now getting more developed over there. So we are actually making certain choices which are different from our impulses. So we are actually learning the laws of the society. We are learning how to behave in the society and things like that. And accordingly, we actually curb our instinctual impulses, right? So basically, if you look at it, Manav Vyavhar Darshan is actually talking about how these impulsive, instead of working according to the bodily impulses, what are the ways, what is the knowledge with which we actually need to operate so that we can actually live in harmony. So, in one sense, Swadhan, Swanari, Swapurush, Dayapun, Karya Vyavhar, these are the acceptances of knowledge, and that would actually need to override our bodily impulses of adhyas, right? So we are making these things like stronger, and so that these can always override onto our bodily impulses, right? So we already have, in some senses, our society, our education does teach us to actually not succumb to the bodily impulses of adhyas. Definitely, it does teach us, but it does seem to be breaking apart at times, and those are the situations we call as crimes, or the times when we say that this is where injustice is happening in behavior. So over here, we are saying that there are actually laws, the ways of conduct that a human being can adopt, with which the conduct can be truly social and they can live in a way with justice. So that's a rather long answer for what adhyas means. I was just thinking over this word for the last few weeks, so just thought that I'll share it here. Over
Okay.
to you, Koho.
Oh, I think someone wants to ask something.
Yes,
Maybe
or
not.
we can go on now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm. Okay, so reading further. Vegetations are the entities of the biological order. These are fundamentally composed of biological cells. The units of the biological order are built from entities of the material order. To maintain the continuity of biological cells, the composition activity happens continuously. This definite effort eventually reaches a specific stage of growth, which we see in the form of plants and trees. Subsequently, their seeding stage comes. Seeds are formed in biological order with the aim of preserving their existence. They contain biological cells that carry the composition method of the entire tree, allowing them to recreate the same kind of tree composition. This is referred to as the seed tree justice. So, plants and animals are basically living entities that are made up of biological cells, and these cells they continually grow, they renew themselves, which eventually leads to um, development of the plants and trees that so that they can produce more seeds. So the seeds is what carry the complete DNA, the complete method for recreating the plant, so that the species can continue, so that their kind can grow forward. So the different variety of plants and trees that we see around is actually due to the differences um, that we see in their environmental conditions and all of that. So the seed tree justice is basically being referred to as how each tree has its own seed and how it has its own composition that is then used to recreate or to reproduce and continue its species. So the reason for the emergence of many species vegetables is differentiation in the environmental pressure and growth process. So, like I said, because of the different environmental conditions, there are many varieties or that we see and the differences between the trees and the plants. So, the proficiency of composition in biological cells evolves from the biological order to the formation of the human body in the knowledge order. While the biological cells are essentially the same, their composition methods vary. Moreover, the dimensions of composition proficiency increase from the biological order to the animal order and even more in the knowledge order. This is because the aspects of which evolution occurs in the body get incorporated into these composition methods. The most developed composition in the brain is the brain in the human body. The nervous system is fully enriched only in the human body. So, heredity also plays a significant role in the body composition. The process of seed combination or heredity tradition has its own unique features in the biological order, animal order, and knowledge order. While the principle of seed combination remains the same across these orders, there are fundamental differences in their state and behavior. These variations are spontaneous manifestation of differences in the composition method of the biological cells. So now we're talking about the evolution of the composition in different biological cells. So the way that biological cells come together to form living organisms, living beings, becomes more complex. It becomes um, more sophisticated as we move from plants to animals to humans. So this increase in complexity is what also allows more advanced functions in each order as we progress. Um, so in humans, he says that this process reaches at its highest level. So this is the most advanced that it can get in terms of the functions that any being on this planet can possess, especially. And then he says that it's especially the brain and the nervous system which are the most advanced uh, things in our body that we are capable of. So heredity, then he talks about how it plays an important role in how our bodies are formed. And it is also, we can see that similarly in all different life forms as well. But each state, like plants, animals, humans, they all have their own unique way of doing this. Um, but why it matters is that when these cells come together and they inherit these traits, it leads to unique features that each life form has. And then this explains why everyone has their own specific characteristics and own specific traits, even though they follow the same heredity rules. So humans in the knowledge order alone are the perceivers of the four orders. The understanding for attaining awakening as uniformity in humans is referred to as sanskar. This understanding itself is the basis for humans to live with resolution and prosperity. The behavior and work happens on the basis of understanding. The sentient unit or Jivan is in the form of hope, thought, desire, resoluteness, and realization. The meaningfulness in its expression is to have realization based hope, thoughts, desires, and resoluteness within self and its evidence. Humans do not become free from overvaluing the insentient aspect until they have attained the potential, ability, and receptivity for absence of delusion within themselves. This can only be achieved through awakening. Until this potential, ability, and receptivity is attained, regulation and balance on bodily senses and material aspects cannot be accomplished. This is because humans, in their delusion, spread their hopes, thoughts, and desires in expectation of finding happiness from the body, resulting in acts of delusion. It becomes clear through awakening that human species and race are only one, and the ideological fragmentation is a result of delusion. So basically, to sum it up, he's saying that humans alone are the ones that can perceive and understand the different levels of existence. Sanskar is what leads us to awakening. It is the deep understanding within the sanskar that guides us towards this behavior, towards awakening. And the jivan that's there, the jivan within us, it seeks meaning through realization, through evidences. So until we overcome delusion, and until we achieve awakening, we struggle to find true happiness. We struggle um, uh, to balance desires, and this then it is awakening that finally helps us uh, see and understand and recognize all humans as one, and that the differences that we see today, the differences that we see in humans are because of the delusions, or because of us being deluded. So then he gives two examples. So, for example, a deluded person remains generous for a while but becomes miser after some time. In this way, one is seen to be working in various dimensions that are mutually opposite in nature. Humans have demonstrated this kind of contradictory behavior repeatedly. This is a defining characteristic of deluded humans, which is also a trigger for rethinking. Second, there is an unawakened person who starts thirsting for awakening upon coming in contact with another person who is awakened, and the process of awakening starts in them. This is the process of progression of awakening through inspiration from the environment. So, the magnificence of human tradition lies in the continuity of awakening. So here he's given two examples. One is the contradictory behavior, which often deluded people show, which is inconsistent behavior, from switching from generosity uh, uh, to miserly action, to being miser. And this inconsistency is a sign of confusion and of delusion and a lack of self-reflection within humans. And then he gives another example. So this is also an unawakened person, but he may find awakening through inspiration, because this person, he might begin his journey towards enlightenment after being inspired by someone who is already enlightened, who is already awakened. And this shows that it's the environment, the interaction with someone or with others that can actually trigger or push him towards personal growth. So there are two types of sanskar involved in the awakening progression. Susanskar, which are the tendencies that are aligned with awakening and are established in thoughts and practices. These tendencies promote resolution and prosperity and are meaningful. Kusanskar refers to the tendency of living like animals. These are tendencies in one's thoughts and practices that frustrate the development and lead to decline. All susanskars eventually transform into tendencies and desires to become evident in the form of work, action, behavior, and realization at suitable time, place, and opportunity. Humans have attempted to understand their significance in relation to insentient and sentient nature as well as omnipresence. However, complete wisdom and science doesn't arise in the absence of realization in the omnipresent, omnipotence, or knowledge. Without this complete wisdom and science, it is not possible to protect and promote sociality. In the absence of adequate laws and systems, there is exploitation amongst humans. So he's basically talking about two types of sanskars. Susanskar being the positive tendencies that lead towards growth and prosperity and completeness and awakening, while kusanskar are the negative tendencies that lead towards decline or that don't help us grow and develop. Then he says that Susanskar is, they eventually show up in our action and our behaviors at the right time and at the right place. And understanding the full scope of existence and having a complete wisdom and like fully understanding existence is what will bring harmony in society, is what will prevent exploitation. And without this, he says that societies will ultimately suffer, and there will be crimes and there will be unfair practices, and we of course then can't be happy, we won't be happy. So, in the absence of complete wisdom and science, humans are incapable of understanding things as they are. This itself is the cause of delusion. First and foremost, humans seek to understand themselves, but due to the incapability described above, they are unable to do correct self evaluation. This state has been defined earlier as delusion. Exploitation is the result of this state of delusion itself. Therefore, the most effective way for humans to move forward, to move towards awakening, is to remain receptive to the instruction, guidance, and message of those who are more awakened than them. It is only through this process that humans become successful in understanding and recognizing their significance in the universe. Attainment of restfulness is possible only upon knowing and recognizing one's significance. So he says that without complete wisdom, we are prone to delusion. We'll always be deluded, which of course then affects our understanding of ourself, understanding of the existence, and this then, because there is a misunderstanding, because there is a lack of understanding, there's a gap in understanding. It leads to exploitation. It leads to unhappiness. It leads to unfulfillment. So to move towards awakening, to move towards achieving restfulness, it is important that we learn from those who are more enlightened than us, those who have achieved awakening, and uh, uh, to basically understand yourself, your significance in the universe, your role, your purpose in the universe, and that is what will um, lead us towards leading a better life, a more fulfilled life, and living in society, in harmony with nature and society. So I will conclude here. I know I was a bit rushed today. I didn't quite get into detail in any of the passages as much, but keeping in mind that Spencer has to present his uh, part next, I have done that. So if I've left out anything, Bhaiya, please, I hope you can explain more or expand more on that. And yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Mute. Yeah, thanks, Kuhu. It was very nicely done, and it was quite intuitive explanation that you actually provided from a standpoint that you are, and uh, and it is important to actually read this book as normal. Like you don't need to make it complex, right? But at the same time, this is a rather dense text and requires to be read in that way, right? And I think you did quite a justice to that. So it was very nice. Uh, the so one of the thing that you are talking about is to explain more on about fate that you said that I could add over there. So there it was. I let me just take that out for a moment. So just one moment. Yeah, fate. So it was. It is. So it is basically in the material world, we know that there is for an action, there is a reaction, right? But in the case of conscious or sentient entities, what is it? What is it that happens? Okay, how? What is the response of an action? Like, and how far does it go? So because sentient is an immortal thing, so there the reaction is not like you push something and immediately the reaction comes. It is something that gets carried forward. So this basically Anubhuti describes how does the consciousness actually carry it forward, which is the most significant thing. Significant thing. In fact, Babaji told that uh, he was in the stage of sadhana. At that time, the nuclear scientist Dr. Homi Jahangir Baba had visited Amarkantak and he had come to see him. So at that time, he was actually he was having this question in mind that we know that action has reaction in material things, but what exactly is prarabdha? What exactly is fate? What gets carried forward and how? So for that, he said that I was in the state of dhyan at that time, and I told him that you come tomorrow. I don't have the answer for that right now. So next day when he came, he says that in his state of meditation, he actually saw almost written on this, and and then he basically said this sutra was something that he had actually seen in that stage, is that one cannot desire as much as one can know, one cannot do as much as one can desire, and one cannot enjoy as much as one can do. What remains to be enjoyed or endured is carried forward as the fate. So you see that there are three levels at which a human being operates: the level of knowing, the level of desiring, the level of doing, and also at the level of enduring joy. So you see that whatever is not actually done, it gets carried forward. So because Jivan is an immortal entity and has a continuity, so it gets carried forward. So to the extent that you are able to do, are you are able to do in the next moment, even after the life time is completed. So prarabdha is is one concept that needs to be actually understood. We can understand it very easily. Say that whatever we are actually doing right now, the next moment we will be actually doing it based on to the extent we have actually finished now, and the rest of the things gets carried forward to the next moment. The same thing can be extended to the end of life also, with uh, some things that will not get carried forward. That, take for example, you cannot carry forward your body. You cannot carry forward the context of your living in the to the next life. So that part is left behind. But you can carry forward your understanding. You can carry forward your tendencies. So that much gets carried forward and get begins in the new context. So which is an important explanation that that comes from this darshan, that it explains reincarnation and the things in a very scientific, in a very logical sort of fashion. Okay, so is are there any questions or anything that you would like to ask Kuhu? We have Sheila saying thanks Kuhu for the explanation. It was quite clear. Ji Manju Didi.
I have a small question. I think, what does it mean that first you might be generous and then you become a miser? I mean, what was that connection? I thought once you're if a person is generous, that person is generous. And if there's a person who's a miser, is always a miser.
No, it was basically the state of deludedness. Like, for example, somebody might give a 100 rupee note to a beggar, but at the other point, he becomes so miser that he doesn't want to share his food with the family members, right? So that is the nature of a delusion, that your behavior is inconsistent, right? So that's what that thing was basically
Oh,
described. Your nature is not certain. Yeah.
unpredictable.
Unpredictable, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chani Didi, you wanted to say something?
Actually, Sheila over here.
Acha, Namaste Didi.
Chani. Both of us are together. Namaste, Bhaiji.
Namaste, Namaste. So nice to hear.
So, Bhaiya, I noticed that in the Prarabh section, you've also used the word endure in
Hmm.
brackets. So, and I was just looking it up because the meaning that we generally know is the tolerance of some negative experience.
Yes, yes.
है ना? But there is another meaning of endure, meaning something that continues for a long time.
Yeah, I
So,
meant in the former sense that either you basically enjoy or you endure, right? That kind of a thing.
matlab bhog can be both of them, है ना? Bhog can be the positive one, the joyful one, or it can be the negative one also.
Yes, that's right. So
Okay.
basically, fate is something that is that, like, for a negative tendencies are there. So negative tendencies, the action of those negative tendencies will result into some negative results as well, right? And one would actually endure those negative results to the extent that one can by the limit of the lifetime. And after that, it is something that the tendency will get carried forward. Like, the carry forward is of the tendencies do get carried forward. It's not that Jivan is becomes a clean slate after the end of life, and it's not that you becomes one attains this state of samadhi at the end of life. You begin with the tendencies that you have carried forward, right? Uh, that you have accumulated. So that basically is one concept here, that Jivan actually carries forward the tendencies, both as susanskars and kusanskars, right? And it eventually leads to the state uh, when the sanskar becomes completed. And once sanskar becomes completed, that is the state of awakening.
Right. Thank you, Bhaiya.
Gee, so now I will actually welcome Spencer. So some drum beats now. So welcome to the session, Spencer. We read your nice introduction that you had written for background for both of you. So it was very sensitive, very nicely written piece. So impressed us a lot. So I will maybe you can give us some background and then start off with the chapter.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for that. No, I actually really enjoyed writing it. And just having to think and reflect on our relationship, Estelle and I. It was quite nice. I was nervous at first. It's always a challenge to write something, but the process and the result I was happy with that. So thank you. Thank you, Kuhu Didi, for the amazing presentation. I think you did such a great job. So thanks for uh, getting us started, and I'll continue now. So the introduction, yeah, I think it's said in the whatever we wrote, but yeah, Estelle and I were married a couple years ago, and exploring this philosophy together. I'll be sharing for the first two sessions, and Estelle will take on the second two. So that's how we're going to divide it. She's just upstairs right now on a different device listening to me, but we're both here. So so I'll just get started. First, I'll just give my gratitude, obviously, for Babaji and his family for giving us this understanding, amazing discovery. I want to thank everyone here who's listening and participating and doing this whole process together. It's really been very nice experience, and you've all contributed to my understanding, one way or another, indirectly or not, or directly. But so just thank you to all of you. I want to ask Rakeshji, last time we were talking, you said something Babaji said about if you should state your stat, like if you're a student, then say you're a student, and if you're something else, teacher, then what was that quote? Do you remember?
Well, he had actually said that it's very important in this process of awakening to actually know where you are, right? So, and if our self-evaluation is incorrect, then we will actually cannot make a step forward. Yeah. So if we are, so once I remember that he had said that, okay, let's first decide how we are going to interact with each other. Okay. So if you have come here to listen, okay, state your position that you are a student. Okay. If you are come here to actually teach me, okay, then state that position and I will actually listen to you. Right. So, and I think it is an important thing. It's otherwise there is no honest dialogue really, or we are actually it's a cacophony where everyone is basically speaking their own thing, and there is no convergence anywhere. So the dialogue actually requires the context setting, is what he actually meant there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's even better than what I remembered you saying. It applies even better. So yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to just do, is just set the tone that I'm coming here as a student, definitely, of this philosophy. So I cannot say that don't take what I'm saying as a final truth here, but rather I see I'm coming as a student, and I'd just like to share, and you guys are my friends. And so I just want to be able to share as a friend and get your feedback, and learn from one another. And if there's something that I share that's good, then that's great, and otherwise I'm ready to listen. So I'm a student. Unfortunately, I also think that I know sometimes, so that is a little bit of a competition. Makes it a little bit challenging. And I'm a little bit stubborn too. I think in this process of preparing, I had a really great experience, but I probably could have consulted and asked for more help, definitely. At the same time, it was great to really sort of chew through it, and put a lot of my own effort into it. And I think after that process, hopefully now I can also, be maybe more receptive to hearing others as well. So, but I think I could have done that more in this preparation process. But I am happy with how it went. I've never done a presentation of such a chapter. It's always been Jivan Vidya Ek Pariche or alternative or something, which is supposedly more simpler. So this was a little bit of a new challenge for me. And definitely when I started reading and where I feel I reached, I see some improvement for sure. So that's very nice. Not complete clarity, obviously, but at least a step in the right direction. And just taking responsibility to have to prepare and share was also an interesting experiment. Babaji says, we have the golden opportunity to experience progress as well as decline. And I think I got to jump back and forth from progress and decline through this process of preparation. Sometimes I was very motivated, studying, reading, preparing, thinking, and I experienced the result of that. It was really great. And other times I was just drawn to distraction and wasting time and not doing what I should, and the result is not good. But despite having a bad result, I still am attached to wasting time and doing those things. So I think I really got to see the difference there. So yeah, it was good experience, and why not let's get into the reading here.
Sure.
Okay, so chapter 5. So, absence of delusion itself is restfulness. So, just before I even go into it, and I will go into it, the title alone, I just wanted to talk about. So, before I started, I wanted to just, when I started reading this, first thing I thought is, Babaji's saying this is an alternative. So it has to be different from idealism, spiritualism, and materialism. And so kind of my test is I want to make sure that when I'm understanding it, I'm not putting it in either two camps. I'm not associating it with either two ways of thoughts. Is this a third way of thinking? So I thought to myself, how does materialism see restfulness, delusion? How does idealism see restfulness and delusion? And I thought about it. So I think in materialism, which I'm very familiar with, if I had to ask myself what is restfulness, I would say, something along the lines of, we're in pursuit of many things in life, of a family, of house, of material wealth, of all these goods, and there's this imaginary place where once we've accomplished all those things, then maybe we'll feel restful, we'll feel relaxed once I've settled my life with all these things. I have enough wealth, I have good family, I have a big enough house, and once all my projects are complete and I have access to everything, then I might feel restful. And I think in idealism, spiritualism, the idea of restfulness, I'm not an expert, but the ultimate goal, the ultimate accomplishment would be complete, like a dissolution of the self, complete unity with God. And maybe in that state, there's a feeling of restfulness, right? So, but what I've read going forward is that Babaji's talking restfulness is something very different than either of these two directions. So let's see. So restfulness, the word, I want to also point out that this chapter it's not isolated, you know. It's really coming in conjunction in the thread with the rest of the book. So the first time that I found the mention of restfulness is actually the beginning of chapter 4. So the first line of chapter 4 says, humans on this earth are engaged in endeavors and experiments to know and recognize their significance solely for attaining restfulness. So that's the first mention of restfulness. And then, as Kuhu just read, towards the end of chapter 4, Babaji also mentions restfulness. He says, the last line is actually, attainment of restfulness is possible only upon knowing and recognizing one's significance. So, and there's another mention of restfulness. 1 second here, let me just find it. Yeah. So it's on page 67, and Babaji says, the ultimate goal of the universe is restfulness, and its evidence is awakened human tradition only. Therefore, every deluded human also remains anxious for restfulness. Resolution itself is restfulness, which is abhyuday, or comprehensive resolution. So what I find interesting is that we're saying that every human is desiring for restfulness. It's the ultimate goal of humankind, but it's also the ultimate goal of existence. So humankind is just the final little part here of existence, but really the entire universe is moving in the direction of restfulness or effortlessness. And you can see the Mool Chesta, I believe, or like the base initiative, is comprised of effort, motion, and constitution. Those are the three guiding principle, the base initiative. So effort is there even in the material atom. It's there at the smallest unit, and it goes all the way till complete awakening, till humankind. So effort is really, we are experiencing restlessness. We're experiencing this thirst for effort, but that seed is in the entire existence, from the smallest unit, from the atom, all the way up to human beings. So it's really the fulfillment of a universal need, not just human need. Human is not separate. So let's continue. So the first line here is, the entire humankind is hoping and waiting for restfulness. Okay, so what is restfulness? Restfulness is realized towards resolution, and frustration is experienced towards problems. Okay, so restfulness is towards resolution, frustration experienced towards problems. So let's see what the resolution and problems are. Resolution and problem are differentiated as intellectual and physical in humans. Prosperity in the physical aspect itself is resolution, and its absence is a problem. Realization in the intellectual aspect itself is resolution, and its absence is a problem. Okay, so here Babaji's divided resolution, or he's saying that in order to attain restfulness, we need to have resolution. Okay, and what is resolution? Well, resolution can be divided or separated, explained in two ways. One in the physical aspect, and second in the intellectual aspect. So in the intellect, resolution is or realization is the resolution. So realization will lead to restlessness, and the material aspect, prosperity, will lead to resolution, restfulness. And if either realization or prosperity are absent, then there is a problem. So what is realization of intellectual aspect? The meaning of realization in the intellectual aspect refers to the realization in coexistence as the ultimate truth. The study for it is resolution, and the obstacles in it are referred to as problems. Both realization and prosperity are activities. Jivan manifests higher consciousness through realization activity. Work is a necessary for prosperity until the lifetime of the body. However, the need for prosperity also ends upon the death of the body. Therefore, it is a durational need. In this way, the continuity is proven only for realization. Okay, so there's two aspects here. One is the physical and one is the intellectual. In the intellectual realization, it will be restfulness, and in the physical, prosperity. But prosperity itself is temporary because prosperity is needed only for the fulfillment of the body. So the immaterial or the material world, and the sentient world or consciousness or jivan requires realization. Success is only in the absence of delusion or in the delusionless state. All humans in knowledge order are close to delusionless state. Awakening is the evidence of realization in coexistence. Prior to being awakened, humans who are in the progression towards awakening are deluded, manifesting as animalistic humans and demonic humans. Hence, it is proven that awakening is the accomplishment of the delusionless state or the absence of delusion. Okay, so it's good. So success is only in the absence of delusion or delusionless state. So Babaji will describe further, like it's written, what is delusion exactly. But my understanding, or just little sneak preview, is that delusion exists only in the imagination. Delusion exists in chitta, basically. And what is delusion? Delusion is basically all the beliefs that we have about ourselves, the beliefs that we have about the world. And these are only beliefs, they do not match up with the reality. So we have different ideas about who am I? I'm Canadian, I'm male, I'm body, I am whatever it might be. We have ideas about happiness, we have ideas about purpose of life, and all these ideas don't match up with the reality. So this is delusion in the self. And what happens is with this delusion, we live, we make decisions, we do actions, we work. And because it's not matching with the reality, we're not getting the result that we're looking for. We've experienced some friction. And this friction is the restlessness, basically. So we need to eliminate the delusion or move beyond the delusion and get realization. Realization is the actual experience, the actual understanding, or the actual view of the existence. And delusion is a hurdle for us. It's a problem. So the good news is that all humans are close to delusionless state. Just by being human, you're already close, you know. We're not matter, plant, so they have a little bit further way to go. So that's good news. So he says, awakening is evidence of realization and coexistence. So there's the experience of coexistence, of ultimate truth, the realization of it, and then there's the awakening. So that realization will become evidenced in human lives, in humans' life. So there is an evidence aspect as well. It's not just the realization. So knowing, believing, and recognizing everything as it is is the accomplishment of delusionless state or absence of delusion, because the study is of what is. So like I said, we're trying to get to the reality here. Jivan has the potential to realize the reality, to see the reality, to have darshan, to have holistic view of the reality. And until the time that we have that holistic view, we have delusion. So non-delusion is a holistic view, and delusion is just beliefs that we have about the reality. So it's not the actual reality, just ideas that we've gathered basically by living through the senses, by living through the body. So these beliefs are a hindrance there, but we need to get to what really is. So what does it mean to know what really is? Knowing a thing as it is means the form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma of entities are getting indicated through language. Omnipotence encompasses the entire units of nature, and the sentient and insentient nature within omnipresence is the ultimate truth. Hence, verity itself is studied in the form of manifested realities, which are understood and achieved as evidence. This achievement can only happen in, by, and for coexistence. Verity is the embodiment of coexistence, which is eternally present. The eradication of delusion is absolutely necessary for the realization in truth, which is accomplished by living only with humanness. Okay, so knowing a thing as it is. So what does that mean? So right now we have beliefs about things, but we need to know exactly, we need to know the thing, not just have beliefs about it. And what is the thing? The thing is everything really in life. We want to know about ourselves. We want to know about a human being. We want to know about society. We want to know about the entire existence. So what I found interesting about this point is that knowing the thing as it is means the form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma of entities getting indicated through language. So I found it interesting that he included the indicated through language part here. But then I thought it makes sense because in the past, in the spiritual tradition, knowledge was incommunicable. You could not communicate it. It was, Babaji, they gave the example, it's as if someone had tasted gur, sugar, and they could not explain it. So you have the experience, but it doesn't come into words. The difference here, Babaji, right away from the beginning has been saying that knowledge is communicable in language. And that's a big difference here. So that's amazing. And if it's not able to be communicated, then there can be a question mark on whether it's really been understood. So I like that they includes that it's indicated through language. And the second part is that he said it is studied in the form of manifest realities, which are understood and achieved as evidence. And again, in the previous traditions, in the spiritual traditions, knowledge was unmanifest. It's difficult to see, I guess, or it's not evident, it's not obvious. You can have experience of knowledge, but it doesn't really come into this world. But here he's saying that no, knowledge is manifest. When you know the reality as it is, that comes into your living. And the reason is that the reality is coexistence. And that coexistence percolates and can come through and through into all aspects of your life. So, and the evidence will be there. So moving on. So the eradication of delusion is absolutely necessary for realization in truth, which is accomplished only by living with humanness. So when I read this, it was interesting for me. it seems to imply, and I would like, maybe some clarification on this, but it seems to imply that in order to eradicate your delusion, in order to have realization, you need to have realization of truth. But before realization of truth, prerequisite will be to live with humanness. So he's kind of giving insight into the progression for achieving this realization, and the step along the way is living with humanness. And it seems that way to me as I read further, as he describes the sort of the study process. Rakesh, do you want to chime in there?
Yes, you got it spot on. That is
Okay.
the way it is. Eradication and delusion and realization in truth. They two are together, right? So if there is eradication of delusion, then the realization of truth is there alongside. And living with humanness is the path for that, right? That's my understanding as well.
Okay, that's good. So the study of wisdom and science and its practice in work and behavior is necessary for absence of delusion. Aligning realization, thought, and behavior through this leads to realizations and accomplishments at spiritual, intellectual, physical levels progressively. So the study of wisdom and science. What is wisdom and science? Well, Babaji will define it shortly coming up here, but wisdom is basically the understanding of the intellect of jivan, of purpose, and science is the implementation of that purpose. So when you have the answer of why and how, basically, so wisdom is providing the answers of why, of what is, and science will be now the implementation of that. So the study of wisdom and science and its practice is necessary. So this is something that we need to study, and through this study, there will be accomplishments at the spiritual, intellectual, and physical levels. So by practicing science and by aligning wisdom and science and practicing in our work and behavior, we will experience successive accomplishments at these levels as we move towards realization. So realization is only of truth because it is unchanging. If it is changing, then it is not realization. Physical activities are ever changing, therefore, they are proven to be temporal. All activities are disciplined and protected by laws. The law is unchanging, hence, law is proven to be true and eternal. So, this is an important point that the realization is only of truth because it is unchanging. If it is changing, then it is not realization. So truth cannot be something which is changing, which is fleeting. He says the material aspects, they are changing, they are fleeting. But what is not is the underlying laws behind them. So the underlying laws are unchanging, and that is what needs to be realized, and that is what needs to be studied. And the problem that we have today is that we're looking at the world not through the lens of the unchanging aspects. Rather, we're looking at the world through the instrument of the body, through the instrument. And this is always changing, where its experiences, pleasant, unpleasant, healthy, unhealthy, profit, unprofit. These things are always changing, and we make our conclusions. We've built our life around these changing elements. And that is leading us to feel restless because there's not getting the result that we're looking for there. So law is what needs to be understood and is what will be realized. The enlightenment of truth manifests as intellectual resolution. while its absence manifests as problem. It is not possible to attain the enlightenment of truth without understanding the laws. So, realization-oriented enlightenment, conceptual understanding. The activity of acceptance in buddhi with remembrance in the witness of Atma and realization. Justice, dharma, and truth becoming accepted in buddhi in the student upon direct perception as a result of study imparted by the guru through realization-based method. And I'll read the next one as well. Realization-based enlightenment. The effect of realization in existence in the form of coexistence and its continuity itself is realization-based enlightenment. There is a natural continuity of resolve after enlightenment of this realization. The effect of this enlightenment and resolve itself is the realization-based contemplation. The effect of this contemplation on visualization and deliberation activities is the realization-based thought. As a result, along with the taste of values, there is continuity of recognition, acceptance, and fulfillment of relationships. This is the expression, communication, and manifestation of awakening in the human tradition. This awakening-based thought leads to evidence of wisdom aligned with science and science aligned with wisdom. So these 2 points, realization-oriented enlightenment and realization-based enlightenment, I would say I just have a very weak grasp, let's say, a very overview sort of idea about what this is. So I will be happy to have more clarification, but if I just give the sense that I have got from this is that there's actually 2 stages of enlightenment. So the first is towards realization. So realization is the activity in Atma, and enlightenment happens in buddhi. And so buddhi becomes enlightened through the realization-oriented enlightenment as on the way towards realization, and this is through the process of study, which is imparted by the guru. So the teacher will guide the student, the teacher will guide the disciple towards enlightenment of buddhi through the systematic process and by accepting justice, dharma, and truth in buddhi. So there's one enlightenment towards realization. And then my understanding is that realization, upon this enlightenment, realization of Atma is a natural consequence afterwards. It's like I said, just a natural consequence, which he describes later. And then from that realization, then Atma again has enlightenment on buddhi. And this is now post-realization, you could say. So one is towards realization, and the second is the effect of realization on buddhi is realization-based enlightenment. And this, this is the, let's see the definition. So after this enlightenment, there's natural continuity of resolve. So Atma becomes in the state of Madhyasth, entire Jivan becomes effective. And there's continuity of this effect. So basically, Atma realizes coexistence, and this coexistence percolates through and through Jivan and into evidence. So human being at that point is living with justice, dharma, truth, experiencing values, and living in family, resolve, prosperous. So it basically comes all the way down from Atma into evidence and tradition. roughly. Would you like
Well,
to add something?
I would say not roughly. It is exactly this. I mean, it is as good as I could have said it. I mean,
Okay.
you have said it very well. This is the way I have also understood it.
Okay, great. By the way, I just wanted to add at this point, like the translation is amazing. I think there's been huge improvements. Sometimes it feels like I'm reading almost a different book in a very good way. And when I was doing the preparation for this, um, I was very much reinvigorated around reading this book and study. So I think you've done a fantastic job there. So it's made it much easier to get, really. It's not like you've used necessarily new words. All the words are the same: realization, enlightenment, and those things. The words from the previous editions are mostly the same, but just the sentence flow is greatly improved, I think. So
Yeah, thank you. And I have much to thank for and guidance by Sadhan Bhaiya and the review team. All of them have contributed for making it what it is. Yeah.
okay, so we'll maybe finish up this page and then we can end with a few minutes left. So enlightenment of realization occurs in buddhi, and intuition of realization occurs in chit. Intuition, comprehension, perception, the realization of coexistence happens in Atma, whose enlightenment happens in buddhi through realization-based method. The intuition of realization takes place upon the union of buddhi and chit, which itself is the contemplation of realization. The comprehension of realization takes place upon the union of chit and vritti, which itself is deliberation of justice, dharma, and truth. The perception of realization takes place upon the union of vritti and man, which becomes evident in the form of taste of values along with selection and fulfillment of relationships. So here Babaji is just explaining more the activities of Jivan. So you have in realization in Atma, the enlightenment in Buddhi, and the intuition of this realization is calling Chit. So the effect of this realization basically on all the different activities is given different names here. I think I can end there. Thank you for listening. There's much I wanted to say, much I had prepared to say, and when I start saying, then it all comes out different, but it's been a good experience. So if there's any questions or comments, please let me know.
I mean, I was totally impressed by what your this thing. I felt that the whole effort that we have been making for that it became justified as you were reading the things. So I'm sure that other people who are listening to this they will also share my feeling on that. So very good job. If I were there, we would basically uh, lift you on the shoulders and give you a standing ovation. So any other feedback or any questions that we have for Spencer? Okay, so yeah, so I think this was a very good start for the chapter 5, and we finished the chapter 4 also today. This chapter 4 and 5 are quite important chapters in a way. I mean, each chapter is important in their own way, but they kind of set the context. Like you are saying that some chapters are more meaty and they have the basic concepts of what is Anubhavgami bodh and what is Anubhav Mulak bodh. And uh, so I think the Anubhutis or uh, the points that are given over here are quite essential ones for building the basic concepts of darshan. Yeah. So I think uh, we are all making slow and steady progress with this reading and quite happy with it. really good job, indeed. Yeah. So thank you very much, Kuhu and Spencer. And we hope to listen to you again in the next session. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste to everyone.
Namaste. Namaste, Bibi.
Namaste. Thank you. That was great.
Namaste. Thanks, Trisha.
Namaste and thank you.
I did want to say I really liked in the beginning. Sorry, I know everyone's leaving, but I thought I just keep. I really liked in the beginning how you contextualized restfulness in the context of materialism and idealism. You really kind of set the stage for the rest of the chapter in the sense of why this is an alternative. I really like that.
Yes, I also. That was very good. I mean, that really did set the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, I had lots to say, and I just sort of got lost in it, but I think that was my initial test before I started reading is like you know, I want to make sure that it's whatever I'm getting, I'm not associating with a previous idea, you know, and trying to get it as the alternative. So that's
Mm.
what
I feel bad we're short on time and you couldn't share all that you had prepared. I would have loved
No, it's not about time. It's not about time. It's about the skill of presenting. It's still getting better.
So look forward to listening to you in the next one, and hopefully whatever you could not say today, you say it in the next one.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.